Hitting bottom. Hitting bottom opened my mind, and I became willing to try something different. What I tried was AA. My new life in the fellowship was a little like learning how to ride a bike for the first time. AA became my training wheels and my supporting hands. It's not that I wanted the help so much at the time. I simply did not want to hurt like that again. My desire to avoid hitting bottom again was more powerful than my desire to drink. I've heard there's expressions to get sober. You know, this is to do with whether you're drinking or drugging, is you have to want to stop more than you want to use or drink. And the only thing that will really bring you to that place is the gift of desperation, which is hitting the bottom. And that's what this is talking about, is that, you know, we all have different bottoms, and unfortunately many of us do not stop in time, and we don't ever see sobriety, this life that I've been blessed with. You know, there's a saying that I stepped over bodies to get here, and I'll step over bodies to remain. And what that means is, you know, alcoholism is a progressive disease, and alcoholism, being a drug addict, which many alcoholics, probably this day and age, most alcoholics tend to do both, as I did. And you know, my first drug of choice was actually drugs. It wasn't drinking. That's where I first started, was with drugs. When I was still in junior high, so when you get into high school, that's 14. So I was probably 12 or 13, and I overdosed on drugs. And my mother was trying to wake me up, and she couldn't because I was passed out. I crushed up a bunch of speed, and I'd snorted it and taken it all, and I passed out, and I was like 12, 13. And that was not the beginning. That was, you know, I was already doing drugs before that, but that was the first time I ever OD'd. And so later in life, it was alcohol that became a part of my story. So it was drugs and alcohol. Basically, my drug of choice was give me more. Whether it was alcohol, whatever it was, give me more. So what it's saying here is that you're not really willing to make the change until you've hit a bottom. And that's really what hitting a bottom is. And it's you know, you've got to change everything. So most of us is not willing to take those efforts until we've suffered. Okay. My new life in fellowship was a little like how to ride a bike for the first time. And what that means is, think about it. A prime example is what I just talked about. I started when I was very, very young. You know, I think the first time I started using drugs, I was 8 or 9. So maybe 10. So, you know, it's talking about going into fellowship and having to learn. And it was kind of like riding a bike with training wheels. Well, when you start using drugs and abusing, you know, yourself, your body, your mind, your spirit, everything at such a young age, you have not participated in life. So you don't even know how to function or feel without being high. And so here, you know, the first time I got sober, I was 28. And by the grace of God, that was an experience for me. Unfortunately, I didn't stay sober. I did for a few years. That's part of my story, and I end up losing my sobriety. It's a precious gift. Don't ever give it up. There's so many people that I know that did not make it through the years, and you know, sometimes you can send your day of grace away. It's the way I look at it. You know, you can The stars have to line up practically to get us sober. So if you give that gift up, there's no guarantee you'll ever get it back. So as a revolving door, I could not get sober to save my life. It seemed that way. And then I turned 40 and I got sober again. And what I'm trying to get at is what it's talking about here, where, you know, living life and you feel like you're riding a bike and a training wheels at the first time when you first got sober, is because you've never lived life. You've never experienced these things that are going to occur in your life, whether it's love, romance, sadness, sorrow, whatever it is. You're always high. You know, the reason why we took these drugs and this alcohol was to escape reality, escape the human feelings, you know, our feelings. We were cowards. And I can only talk about myself. I'm not talking about anybody out there that may be watching this. I'm talking about me. I can only relate to what I feel. But most of us are wired the same. And so that's what it's talking about right here, that, you know, you kind of need the training wheels, which means the program, somebody to help you, somebody to talk to. And that's the way it worked for me. I needed help. It is not that I wanted the help so much. At the time, I simply did not want to hurt like that again. My desire to stop hitting bottom again was more powerful than my desire to stop. And I can relate to that. Again, if you don't come, you know, you don't experience loss, it's very hard to get sober for most alcoholics, drug addicts. But you don't have to go all the way to the bottom and die. You don't have to go that far. In the beginning, that was what kept me sober. But after a while, I found myself working the steps to the best of my ability. I soon realized that my attitudes and actions were changing, even ever so slightly, one day at a time. And that's really important. Is I remember when I first got sober, you know, it was years. It takes time to change the programming that we've put in our body and our mind and our soul to continue abusing and destroying our life, killing ourselves. That's really what it comes down to. All the years and all the times and all the lies we told ourselves to continue destroying our life, we have to reprogram that, and that takes time. That takes a lot of time. And so many alcoholics and drug addicts, they expect a miraculous change because we got sober. We're not using this anymore. You know, I shouldn't be feeling this way. I shouldn't, you know, and it takes one day at a time. It takes numerous occasions and events where, you know, that you reacted differently because you've been practicing the program of recovery. And that takes time. It takes time. That's what it's talking about right there. I soon realized that my attitudes and actions were changing, even ever so slightly, one day at a time. I became comfortable with myself and others, and my heart, and it is your heart too, and my hurting started to heal. Thank God for the training wheels and the supported hands that I choose to call Alcoholics Anonymous. And you know, I go to AA, obviously, that's what this is about. But my father found his recovery in the church. You know, people find it where they're going to find it. There's passages in the AA book that I can relate to, and it talks about that. But anyhow, if this is your first time watching one of my videos, this is the first video I've ever put out about I guess the program. I'm going to just leave it at that. And the program is not just AA, it's recovery. It's everybody. It's whether you're an addict, an alcoholic. They use the AA book, we call it the big book, has been changed and utilized for so many different recoveries. They have it for Al-Anon. They have it for Alcoholics Anonymous, obviously, was the first one. They have it for NA, which is Narcotics Anonymous. So in other words, you know, whether you're you know, doing meth or whatever it is, whatever your drug of choice is, which is pretty much give me more. And they've even used it for Sex Anonymous. Like if you've got a problem, I'm laughing, but it doesn't matter what kind of problem you've got. Even Gamblers Anonymous. So what they do is they've taken that book, the same program, and they've just reworded words and put it where it addresses whatever the addiction you're using. So for me, Alcoholics Anonymous is my best place because it's bigger and there's more people that's been in it longer, and you just get a stronger base. And any edge that you can get over this disease is crucial. It's life-saving. You know, like I said, you step over bodies to get here, and you'll step over bodies to stay here. Meaning you'll meet people in AA that does not make it, that does not stay. It's a gift. And, you know, you're not supposed to give a gift back. So if you ever come into recovery for any reason, whether it was a nudge from the judge or your wife finally telling you to get the heck out of the house because, you know, she's tired of living this life, or your loved ones, your parents, whomever it is, wherever you're in that situation, and this is your first shot at trying to change your life, it's a gift. It's a precious gift. You're not supposed to give a gift back. There's no re-gifting. It's life. You know, you're going to end up dead if you do it that way. You know, you got to take this very seriously. And so that's what I mean by I've stepped over bodies to get here. And I've stepped over bodies to stay here. And unfortunately, those bodies have been my own flesh and blood, my brothers, family, loved ones, friends. It's a very, very destructive lifestyle for the addict and the alcoholic. And it's a precious gift. So if you're out there struggling, this is going to be a daily reprieve. And I'm going to try to put something out every day if I can. No guarantees, but I'm going to try to put something out as often as I can. Just a little conversation like this, in hopes maybe that it'll touch somebody's life and it'll make a difference where they decide that enough is enough and they'll try to seek help. You know, and you can post a comment in here, you know, but if you need help, you need to get help. You need to go. There's AA, this program, and a lot of people don't be so like, well, I don't relate in everything he said, and so I'm not an alcoholic because, you know, my problem is drinking and drugging, or I prefer to get high. Whatever it is, the drug of choice is more. Give me more. So I go to AA, but you can go to NA. I go to AA because there's more. It seems like there's more options for meetings. When you first get sober, again, like I said, I can only talk about myself. When I first got sober, I had to go to these meetings every day. And sometimes, I'm not exaggerating, 3, 4, 5 times because I wanted to go out. And so I had to find a safe place, and that's a safe place. So AA's got more meetings. You know, most cities have them almost every hour. You might have to drive around. But how much did you go out of your way to use? Whether it's drinking or drugging, you know, you would move a mountain to get that stuff. And so you have to have that same conviction to staying sober. Otherwise, it won't work. And that's what it's talking about right here, the bottom, you know, hitting the bottom. But like I said, too, you don't have to go all the way down to the bottom where it's a casket. Thanks for letting me share. And anybody out there that this touches, I hope you find your way. Thanks for listening. My name is Sean. You have a wonderful day.